Hey guys, I just want to quickly share with you some of the panel that we did today for the Keller Williams Young Professionals. We answered questions like, what are you doing to keep your mental health and well-being in a good state? What are you doing differently to rock it in business during these tough times? What changes are now going to become a permanent change in life and business? And what will we do if there's a second wave of coronavirus or another lockdown? Stay tuned. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree or disagree. And the theme of focusing on what we can control comes up a few times. And let me know if you agree or disagree with that specifically.
The main thing that everything else falls into is just working off of a model. So we need to focus on the things that we can control. We can't control that there's a global pandemic. We can't control that they've closed the border. We can't control what we can do that's safe out in the workplace. We can control how we behave in this environment, though. So we can control how we're positioning our properties. We can control how we're marketing them. We can control whether or not we do virtual open houses. We can control how we enter and show properties and how we're communicating that to the public, especially when this pandemic first hit. We could control the words that we used with our clients, and if they were considering selling or buying at the so we can focus on the conversations we had. We can control those things. We can control what we're listening to. So I'm making sure that I'm listening to the right podcast. I'm making sure that I'm following the right leaders. We want to make sure it's the right people. We can't just follow anybody. We can't just partner up with anybody. It has to be the right people for what we want. It has to be with people who are doing what we want to be doing. So I'm just controlling what I'm doing with my time, what I'm listening to, how I'm having conversations, and what words I'm using. And I'm not worrying too much about the things that I can't control.
Partner Ben Kinney actually illustrates this really well. And the first level of that triangle is controlling the way we think. So important. And you can go back to my first YouTube video on a little bit more about that. Controlling our time, how we're spending our time, what we're spending our time on. I think a lot of us during this pandemic have reevaluated what's important to us and making sure that we're spending our time more purposefully. Then we want to also focus on who we're spending our time with. Critical. We don't want to be around negative people. We want to be around people who lift us up and who are encouraging us and who are helping us grow to become the people that we want to become. And then, of course, we need to control money. And at the beginning of this pandemic and leading up to it, we always need to be conscious of where we're spending our money. Cutting personal expenses was a big one for a lot of us. Cutting business expenses was required. And making sure that the money that we're spending is investing into a better future.
Things will never actually be the same. I think we all just need to be okay with that and embrace the good things that have resulted from this. Of course, it's terrible that people are dying. Of course, it's terrible that my kids can't go to school and interact with other kids. That is not in my control, though. I can control hiring a Montessori teacher to come to our house and get some of their cousins involved so that we've got our own little pod. That's different. It's not about whether things are the same or not. It's how we handle the things that are changing. We could have, nothing is certain. I think that these times have proved that nothing is certain. There could be a devastating loss in our life that could completely rock a world. We could get into a major accident. I think that we all just have to be okay with the fact that things can change, and that as long as we're adaptable, as long as we're able to focus on the things that we can control, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter what's happening, but that we can embrace and that we'll be okay. So what are we doing differently? A lot of things. So our business, our lease was up at the end of April. I was working out of my bedroom for about 3 days and then realized that was not going to work when my kids came running in the room every 5 seconds. That was a legitimate challenge. I could not control my kids running into the room, but I could control where I put my office. So I rented an office that I put in my backyard. It's a construction site trailer. I was operating out of there for 5 months, and we were running a business. We were building a team. I was hiring agents through Zoom. I was meeting through clients through Zoom. We were making things happen. We had 14 listings going into this pandemic. We had to help those clients sell. They had a legitimate need. I had to figure something out. So we changed things, and we went more virtual, and we communicated our virtualness. And some of the other things that we're doing differently, some of the silver linings is protecting my time a lot better. Rather than meeting arbitrarily with people that didn't really need to be met with and driving and commuting, now I can do it virtually. And I can actually share my screen, and it's actually much more effective than it was sitting next to somebody sometimes and looking at the same screen together when we're shopping for houses online, and I'm trying to get inside their head so that I can understand what they're looking for and help them execute on that purchase. So doing things differently is a given. We had to adapt. And that starts with the things that we can control and making sure we're aware of what environment that we're working in. And yeah, of course, like there's going to be things that are harder. And of course, like we talk about that on our team, and we meet with each other every day. Some of it is doing more of the same, like meeting every day at 9 to 9:30. I was supposed to be on a cruise the first week that we shut down. And of course that didn't happen. Instead, we went to Collingwood. We stayed at a place there, a family's place there. And I jumped on morning meetings every single morning. We've missed 1 or 2 morning meetings with the entire team. We've missed 1 or 2 since that lockdown started. We want to connect every day. We wanted to make sure that we're helping each other with our mental energy. We want to make sure that we're thinking the right way and having the right conversations with the right people. And we just doubled down on some of those activities. But we've been able to pivot and change a lot of things during this crazy time. We were always doing 3D virtual tours. We started doing virtual open houses. We've stopped since then, but that was adding value. Obviously now we can do them in person. So those are just so much better for so many reasons, as long as we're keeping it safe and those protocols in place. Those will continue. Those will be permanent things until there's a widespread, widely accepted vaccine, which probably going to be a long time. But until then, we're going to be maintaining strict protocols for our listings and for our open houses and things like that. But one of the main things that even after it's widespread, immunization, then we will continue to do virtual morning meetings. Because I used to make any agent who was a consideration for our team had to come and participate in our morning meetings. We did scripting, we did skill improving, we practiced our listing presentation, our buyer consult. We wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. So culturally, it was just part of our culture. So, but then we started doing them online, and we were realizing that everybody was still participating and could participate at a greater level. We were able to partner up with Tammy all the way in Newmarket, who I probably wouldn't have partnered up with because Tammy wasn't able to come in and physically be there. But it's actually been able to expand our business to other locations because we can just do that one thing that was actually getting in our way. Even like agents just to join our team and tap into our systems and our processes and our human resources and things like that, couldn't if they were like a 40-minute drive away and traffic was bad. So sometimes it would take too long. It wasn't a reasonable amount of commuting. So the commuting and the necessity to commute is a permanent thing that will be gone from my life unless completely necessary, I would say. The cases are up and stuff like that. So, we just have to continue to be super cautious, only mandatory in person, wear your mask, sanitize your hands, don't touch anything, stay 6 feet apart. Like all those things are just going to continue no matter which wave we're in, I think. And if there's another lockdown, then I'm going to follow the regulations, the government imposed bylaws and however they suggest and require us to behave. And I'm going to focus on the things that I can control. I'm going to do virtual open houses again. I'm going to market my clients' listings. They have a legitimate need. In some cases, if they don't need to sell and it's okay for them to wait it out. We saw what happened last time. The number of sales dipped by 80%, and then they went up by over 80%. There was some pent up demand there, as Carol touched on. She noticed that in a big way in her database, and that could be something that happens too. So I'm just going to focus on the clients that I have that have a legitimate need. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing the correspondence that we need to let our database know and our prospective and current clients know how we're going to operate. We've been there before. I don't think it's ever going to be like what happened in March and April, where there was so much uncertainty. No one knew what to do. There wasn't enough hand sanitizer. Nobody had toilet paper. Everybody was freaking out. I don't think that's ever going to happen again. In fact, I think it's the expectation that things are going to get locked down again in the near future. So I think everyone's going to handle it differently. And I think we're just going to do the things and focus on the things that we can control once again, just like we try to do every single day.
Well, there you have it. We can certainly control a lot more than we usually think, but the more we focus on maybe this triangle, for example, more that we focus on the things that we can control, the happier we're going to be, the more success we're going to get from the things that we do, because we're not going to be spending time getting anxious or depressed about things that are beyond our control. We're only going to take action on the things that we can.